Unfortunately, you don't know that you need credit until you need credit, right? So it wasn't
Yeah.
until I went to go apply for an auto loan that I was like, oh, this is serious.
I used Self in 2020 when I just graduated, and they actually, or you guys actually raised my credit 32 points in
Oh,
1 month.
wow. Wow.
So
Wow.
literally from there, I was like the biggest self advocate.
I'm trying to give me a bag. I'm trying to give me a bag. I'm trying to give me a bag. I'm trying to give me a bag.
What's up? You are now listening to FY Fly the podcast, and I'm your host, Hassan Thomas, along with Remy, and we are here to share tools on how millennials can budget, save, invest, and understand student debt and credit to achieve financial freedom. If you're a high school student, college student, or someone who's interested in gaining more financial insight, this podcast is for you.
I'm trying to give me a bag. I'm trying to give me a bag. I'm trying to give me a bag.
What's up, my FY Fly folks out there? How y'all doing? I hope y'all doing all right. Welcome to the FY Fly podcast. My name is Hassan Thomas, aka the kid that did and the man that can, baby. And today, we're gonna be chopping it up with the head of community for Self Financial, for Self Credit Booster, for Self Credit Builder, Miss Monique White. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me, Hassan. Thank you.
Of course. But right now, we're on FY Fly, and what we like to do, we like to skip the fluff and get right into the good stuff. That sound good?
That sounds good.
All right. So I know you mentioned on social media a couple times that you were actually denied for an auto loan because of a credit card that you opened at 18. So before we dive into that, how that transpired and how that played out, I want to know before, like, were finances and credit talked about in your household growing up? What did that look like for you?
Unfortunately, it wasn't a topic in my household. I remember money being talked about. It was never something that, like, Monique, go to your room. This is a grown folk conversation. But I definitely remember, like, hearing my parents talk about money and maybe the struggles of it and just paying for necessary things. But there was never a conversation centered around financial literacy when I grew up. My parents were very young when they had me. They were 18. So they were kids themselves, just trying to figure it out.
Were you growing up in California? Because I saw that California number. So
I'm from Oakland. Oakland, the Bay Area. So my dad was in
West
he was based in the Bay Area. That's how they met. But, he was young too. And we were just trying to pay bills and get through it. So it was never something that was taught to me.
Wow. So what do you feel like, for other people who have gone through that, who didn't have parents that taught them? Talk about, like, where do you think the impact is of parents not teaching their students about financial education?
Well, first, I think a lot of people can relate to my story. It's not something that's taught at home, and it's not something that's taught at school. So I would love
We're working on that.
Right, exactly. Me too. That's like one of my life missions, is to make it something that's mandatory in school, maybe like senior year before graduating. But until that happens, unfortunately, you don't know that you need credit until you need credit, right? So it wasn't until I went to go apply for an auto loan that I was like, oh, this is serious. Like, this is stopping me from not only getting a type of asset that I need, but any other things that I need to do, I'm not able to do it because of credit. So it's like, Self is great for providing that type of education on YouTube or on their blogs. I know there's content creators like you that are dedicating their lives to making financial literacy something that's really important for everyone. So I commend you for that.
For sure. Well, thank you. And you did mention Self. So kind of talk about, what is Self?
So Self is a financial tech company on a mission to help people with low or no credit. They have multiple credit building products that kind of meets the people where they're at. So it's shaped around, like, their budget and their ability to have accessible credit building tools. I know when I started out in my journey, all I knew about was a secure credit card. And I was a broke college student, and I didn't have $300 or $500 to, start my credit building journey. And it was very difficult for me to get that started. Self has made credit building product tools that are accessible for everyone, whether you're, like, starting from nowhere or you're rebuilding your credit. So they do have a credit building account where you can, build your savings and your credit at the same time. And then they have a secured credit card. And what's unique about that card is that you can use your funds from your credit builder account to open your secured card. So now you're not stressed about having to save up a couple $100s for a deposit, right? But even then, Things are tight. Things are difficult right now. Maybe you don't have money to commit to a credit builder account. You can get credit for the things that you're already paying for, like your rent and your utilities. So you can have that reported to the credit bureaus and build your credit.
Major gem right there, because I honestly don't remember y'all having that feature in 2020.
I mean, rent is usually your biggest expense for the month, and it's something that's, it's a necessity. So you should get credit for it.
Yeah, and that's why I even doubled down on how huge that was, because you're gonna pay it anyway, because we all need a place to live.
Exactly.
We
The
all
rent will get paid.
Come on. Shout out to you all, because I used Self in 2020 when I just graduated. I was having like, okay, I'm about to graduate. I need to get my finances right. So I did kind of what you did and went into that, YouTube space, went into that kind of self-education space. And I ended up finding Self. And from there, I used them, and you guys actually raised my credit 32 points in
Oh,
1 month.
Wow.
So literally from there, I was like the biggest self-advocate. So what are some of the things that people can't do, or that it's harder for people to do with bad credit?
When you're entering adulthood and you're not in a position to maybe rely on your family, you do have to go get your own housing. Unfortunately, that's what they base your eligibility off of, is your credit score. And then if you're at a low score, they do look at your income as well, but they're looking at your credit score. Like right now, my lease is up in November, and I'm looking on Zillow, and they're telling you straight up like 700 credit score. Even if I ask for a tour,
At the minimum.
the first question is, do you have a 700? Like, they're not playing right now. I think a lot of people are scared after the pandemic. A lot of landlords, they really want someone that has a solid credit score, or even getting your necessities for your home, like your Wi-Fi, your utilities, your phone bill. They're checking your score to see if you are able to, make payments on time.
Yeah.
And if not, if your score is low, you're going to have a bigger deposit to get that, type of utility.
So I think, especially for the younger folks listening, we should break down, and I'll probably have to put this in the front of the episode, because I need people to, before we jump straight into credit, we don't even know if everybody knows exactly what credit is. So I'll tell you how I like to describe credit, simplified, and then you can give us your definition of it as well. So I feel that credit is more of like, I like to look at credit as a trustworthy score. So when I'm teaching and when I'm talking to the high school and college students, I'm like, hey, imagine you gave money to somebody, you lended money to one of your friends, and they didn't pay it back on time, and they used all the money that you gave them. Would you want to lend the money again if they asked? All of the high school students be like, heck no, I'm never doing that. So I'll be like, yeah, that's the same thing with the banks. If they give you money, because it's not free money, it's the bank's money. If they give you money for that home or for that car or for anything of that nature, if you borrow money from them and you don't pay it back on time and you use all that money, then your trustworthy score in their head is going to go down, but that represents a credit score. So that's kind of the way that I like to, break it down. What would you add to that?
That is the perfect way to describe it. I've never really framed it that way before. Trustworthy score is great. I do want people to understand that it has nothing to do with the type of person that you are. I think that there's a type of like shame when it comes to your credit score. You feel like it should be higher. I'm a horrible person. That's not the case. But it absolutely is a tool that you have to use to prove that you are reliable, right? So the biggest factor of your score is on-time payments. That's 35% of your score. You're saying, hey, I can pay this back on time. And that's something that if you are new to credit, you need to absolutely focus on. I know there's so much information and like credit hacks and tips.
Yeah.
Ignore it, stick to the basics, and pay on time. Like, that's the biggest thing that you can do.
Big facts. Do them fundamentals and things that's been working, that's proven to work. And I want to touch on something you said earlier that really kind of, intrigued me for the opposite. So we kind of talked about, what's on the bad end. Okay, like boom, it's harder to get a car. It's harder to get a home. Sometimes you may even be denied for a job from having low credit. So let's kind of talk about the positive spectrum. Let's flip it. What are some of the good things or some of the doors that have been opened for you and other customers or other builders of Self from having and raising that good credit?
Yeah, I think there's two parts to that. So there's like a financial confidence that you have when you have a good credit score, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think cash is king. You should always save 20%, whatever your saving or your budget structure is. Always make sure you have some type of nest egg, emergency savings. But there's just a level of confidence you have when you know your credit score is good. And if you need to go get anything, whether it's a new car, your car breaks down, there's no coming back from it. You got to go get a new car, or maybe you need to leave your home unexpectedly and go get a new one. Whatever the case is where they're checking your credit and you have a good score and you can get that. It's like a different level of confidence and cushion that you have with your finances.
Mm-hmm.
And then also it just unlocks a new level of wealth building, whether it's obtaining assets like real estate or going to get a business loan, because they do look at your personal credit score if you do try to apply for a loan, and you're able to do that with a good score.
No, that's amazing. That's amazing. I had a great question. Let me see.
Think of it.
Man. Okay, I'm gonna hit you with another one and then it's gonna come back to me.
Okay.
So for anybody listening who wants to raise their credit, what would be some good first steps to take to initially raise your credit score?
So if you're starting off from a place where you have absolutely no credit, or you want to start rebuilding your credit, as a coach, when you're looking at someone's credit report, you're noticing that they have either they have no score, right? Or they have a lot of open or closed credit cards or collections and things like that. They're not having anything reported to the credit bureau saying they're doing a good job. They're having on-time payments. So we need something that gets reported to the credit bureaus and saying you're doing a good job and you're paying on time. So you can either start with a credit builder account where you can have that reported each month, or you can open a secured credit card. And then also, if you do have any open debt, it would be a good idea to pay some of the credit cards, because 30% of your score is your credit utilization. Your credit utilization is how much you're using versus how much you're giving. So if you have a $500 credit card, that's your credit limit. You want to stay below 30%. If you're above that, it's going to impact your score. So as a coach, I always say the quickest, because I can't really use that lingo myself. If you want to start working on your credit and see your score build and raise, pay down those open credit cards and you will see your score go up.
Gems. I love it. And it came back to me. So I'm happy about that too. That question that I had early for you.
Okay.
Cause you mentioned, you kind of threw me off when you was like, cash is king. I wasn't expecting you to say that,
it's
credit, but you don't hear that. You don't hear that from the credit portion of the financial literacy community. So the fact that you said that, I want to get your opinion on, and you guys are hearing this from a credit expert herself. She's still saying that cash is king. We all know that credit is super important and is right up there. But I want to get your thoughts on why you say cash is king, personally for you.
Cash is king because if you have cash, it's not going to impact your credit. So if you have, let's say something breakdowns on your car, right? It's $1,000. I would hate for you to have to use your one credit card that has $1,000 limit, which is over that 30%, and now your score goes down. But if you have something in your bank account, you could take it out. You don't have to worry about your credit score being affected. So building that type of emergency savings is super important, not only for you to be able to, grab it quickly, it's liquid, but it does help your credit score stay high.
100%. Okay, I love that. I love that answer. So I have a couple more questions for you, Ms. Monique. This is a show about money, entrepreneurship, and investing. So we can't have you on here and not ask one of our favorite final questions.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you two quotes.
Okay.
And I need you to let me know which one is more accurate in your opinion. All right?
All right. I'm ready. I'm scared, but I'm ready.
All right. So that first one is more money, more problems, like Biggie. Shout out. Oh, you from the West Coast. I don't know if you want to shout out Biggie.
You know what? Now that I'm older, I kind of like Biggie more than Tupac.
Uh-oh.
Hope I don't get canceled.
She said, I hope I don't get canceled. All right. All right. So that first one, like I said, is more money, more problems. And the second one is money can't buy happiness. Which one do you agree with most? Which one is more accurate?
More money, more problems. 100%.
Ooh, you
Yeah.
said that quick with no hesitation. Why is that?
Yeah. And it's not the type of problems that, like, the more money you make, there's different things that arise. So it's either you have like your family or your friends that realize you making more money and they might need more help, or just like your lifestyle creep that comes up with. A lot of people don't realize that the more you make, I think it's just natural that we want things that are a little bit more expensive. Whether and it doesn't have to be always be materialistic things. Sometimes it might be education. You might
Yeah.
want a better quality shirt. Like, it's just things like that. And then they do catch up to you. Like, my
So you want the
previous
Zara shirt instead of the JC
No.
Penney? Nah, you done upgraded.
I'm just saying, like, you're making different type of investments, and then there's also just like things that are mentally taxing. The more money that you make, now you're scared to go back to maybe what you were making previously. Maybe you're scared that you're going to be in poverty. Maybe you're scared that you'll not make more. It's just so much more that comes with it mentally, and it becomes stressful. And then you're hard on yourself. You don't want to mess up. You want to make sure you're smart with your money. You put it in the right place. Like it, and then if you're in different tax bracket, now you have to just be aware of different things and taxes and talk to an accountant. And it's just so much more that a lot of people don't realize. So I definitely agree with more money, more problems.
I love it. I love it. So thank you so much, Monique, for coming on the show. If you have any final words, any final takeaways, please let them know. And then also let us know where we can reach you at.
Yes, so anyone that's new to credit, just get started. That's the only thing I can say. Like Hassan mentioned, there's just so much education around credit and your finances that you can take advantage of, even when you're scrolling on your phone, on TikTok, on Instagram. And don't be like an all or nothing person when it comes to credit. You don't have to have a certain amount of money. You don't have to make a certain amount of money. Just get started. And then you can find more financial credit tips at self.inc, or you can follow me on LinkedIn, Monique White.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for rocking out with
Thank
us.
you for having me. I had a good time. I need that background.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Amazon, baby. Amazon.
I'm going to go on there right now.
Hey, I'm telling you. I'm telling you. But this was great. I think everybody here, we talked a lot about some financial gems, some credit gems. Take 2 or 3 small gems that you can, really collect here and then take and implement into your life. You won't be able to do everything at once, but if you can take 2 or 3 small things, small habits that you can start to implement, I promise you they will grow to large results, large positive results in your life. So thank you again. And for all of our listeners, y'all already know we need y'all to stay safe, stay invested, and stay FY fly. We'll see y'all next week. That's money right there.
Thank you, Hassan.
Thank you all for listening to FY Fly, the podcast, and we hope you enjoyed the show. Tune in next week for more financial literacy insights with our special guests. Please visit our website, social media platforms, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at FYI Fly Podcast. That's FYI FLI Podcast. See y'all next week and stay fly.